Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my Week 6 2019 NFL predictions. Well, for the Fanatic this week, it was a great bounce-back week. A week that I wanted to have, a week that was desperately needed. I feel much better about my results this past week going into Week 6 than I did last week going into Week 5. So last week, or for this current week, against the spread, I topped my own previous high of against the spread victories with an 11-3 against the spread record this week, and straight up I went 9-5. So that equals up to about 79% against the spread, and straight up that equals about 64%. So definitely from just barely going above 500 to getting about 79% of the games on the line right. And straight up, definitely from going under 500 to about 64%. Definitely a great bounce back week for me in both of those regards. And now overall for the year, going into tonight's game, I am 47-29-1 against the spread, which equals 61.7%, the highest I've had over the last 3 years through 5 weeks, and I am extremely happy about that, and I hope to continue that amount of success moving forward. And straight up for the year now, I am 48-28-1, which equals 63% even. So definitely good to improve the winning percentage up in the straight up area. I'd like to get between 65 to 67%. I still have plenty of time to do that, and definitely with how the weeks are going, I hope I can continue to build on that. So definitely, though, overall, a great week to bounce back from 2 winning records, my best against the spread record, I believe, ever, and I'm just really happy with my progress, and I want to thank everybody for watching my videos over the last several weeks as well. Thank you for tuning in. I've gained about over 60 subscribers over the last 5 weeks, so I appreciate it, and thank you all for watching, commenting in the videos, and you're all the reason that I continue to do these on a weekly basis. Well, what a crazy week in the NFL, like most of them always are. I want to congratulate Tom Brady and the Patriots for being the only remaining AFC team left at 5-0. Tom Brady is the first quarterback in NFL history to have 600 touchdowns, including the postseason, and he passed Brett Favre to become the 3rd all-time leader in yards. Job well done. I know for a lot of people with the Patriots, it's like, well, they're beating up a bunch of bad teams, and that's true, but I feel like they're consistently doing something with that defense that really has got me impressed with how they're doing. Especially with all the injuries they've had. They didn't have Rex Burkhead yesterday. They didn't have Patrick Chung. They didn't have another one of their corners. David Andrews been out for a while. Philip Dorsett left the game. And they're still finding ways to find different people to win the game. I know Washington was a horrible team and they just fired Jay Gruden today. And by the way, he should have been fired after the 2017 season. Actually after the 2017 season. After he went going from 8-7-1 to 7-8-1. Yeah, so that was a happy trails that was far too overdue for the Washington team. But I was really impressed with what the Patriots did. They have another nice game against the Giants coming up this Thursday. We'll see how that goes. If you look at some of the other, surprising games this week, the AFC, the Chiefs put up their lowest point total in the Patrick Mahomes era. They put up 26 or more points in all of 23 of Patrick Mahomes' starts over the last 2 years, and they cut that in half. The Colts were able to hold on to the ball for 37 minutes. Mahomes, even though he, didn't have another turnover, he threw for 300 yards, he just didn't look as effective. Robinson had a few big drops. Travis Kelce had a lackluster game by his standards, and the Colts were just dominating the time of possession. They held the ball for 37 minutes. Marlon Mack, they ran the ball, I believe, 40-plus times for about 160 yards. 130 of those to Marlon Mack, who had a fantastic day. And I was just surprised because the Colts in this game didn't have Clayton Gathers, Malik Hooker, Kenny Moore went down with an injury. I think he came back in the game. And without Darius Leonard. And they were still able to hold the Chiefs to only 13 points. So, job well done to Indy. I think for Kansas City fans, I think this is a blip. I also do want to tell Kansas City fans to be careful about Patrick Mahomes' ankle. That looked kind of gimpy, or that'd be something I'd pay attention to. But I was just really impressed with how the Colts went into Kansas City and righted some wrongs from last year in the divisional round. And kudos to Adam Vinatieri as well for getting 4 field goals in that building, because that was the last place. Remember last year, earlier this year in the divisional round, he missed 2 extra points and I believe a field goal that really could have changed the game for the Colts. So it's really nice for him to have a good, perfect day. I know they were all short field goals, but good for him at his age to come through big when he did. And then you look at some of the other big games. The Eagles just routed the Jets. The Jets, I did not know this, but the Jets have only scored 2 offensive touchdowns through 5 weeks. That is just sad football. Anybody that is defending Adam Gase at this point, just stop, okay? And I'm somebody that, look, I'll admit it now. I thought Adam Gase deserved a head coaching job, but after what I've seen him do with the Jets, yes, he's had a lot of injuries, especially with Sam Darnold, who is getting tested today, and if his spleen shrinks to a appropriate size, he will be cleared to play. But I don't know if that will happen. But honestly, with just how bad the Jets' offense is, with the limited amount of weapons that they have, and just kind of the uninspired nature of the entire team, I just don't think it's going to matter even if Darnold plays against the Cowboys, who are pretty ticked off after losing to the Packers in the fashion that they did. And then, you look at some of the other games. I think the one team that I'd like to just mention real quickly, then I'll get into my picks and everything, is the Buffalo Bills. I love how the Buffalo Bills are playing football. To me, they're becoming the AFC version of the Chicago Bears. In the sense that Buffalo's not going to wow you offensively. They really don't have anybody. Robert Foster, Duke Williams, Zay Jones, Tyler Croft. Trying to think of some of their other... John Brown, Colby. They're not going to wow you offensively. Devin Singletary, who hasn't really done that much for them. Frank Gore at his age. They really don't wow you offensively. And Josh Allen is leading the league in interceptions this year with 7. But the one thing about the Bills that I like what I see every single week is I know what the Bills are, and every single week the Bills play consistent, solid football. And that's what I like to see. I like to see a consistency in that Josh Allen can make some plays. He will make 2 or 3 bad, horrifying decisions every game, but the defense is able to bail him out, and he's able to make more plays to save them games compared to winning, even though Cairo Santos did miss 4 field goals in that game. But I just want to give the Bills a lot of credit. I put them right now as the 3rd or 4th best team in the AFC, and I'm not trying to exaggerate. I really love what the Bills are doing, and shout out to all Bills fans out there. Steve Sabo and NFL YouTube, job well done for your team, and I'm really impressed, and I really enjoy watching the Bills play football, and I hope they do well moving forward. All right, so time for my picks and thoughts for each game. One more thing, since the bye season has started, the byes for this week are the Buffalo Bills, Chicago Bears, Indianapolis Colts, and Oakland Raiders. So if you have Frank Gore, Josh Allen, Cole Beasley, John Brown, the Bills defense, the Bears defense, Mitchell Trubisky, Allen Robinson, David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, Trey Burton, Jacoby Brissett, Marlon Mack, Colts defense, T.Y. Hilton. If you have Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, Tyrell Williams, if you have any of those players, bench them because they will not be playing this week. Once again, the byes for this week are the Bills, the Bears, the Colts, and the Raiders. All right, it's time for my picks for each game. So this Thursday, when the 2-3 New York Giants go to the 5-0 New England Patriots, the New England Patriots are 17-point favorites in this game. I like the New England Patriots here to win straight up, but I'm going to take the New York Giants plus 17 in the game. Then the next game, in London, the second game of the International Series this year, when the 3-2 Carolina Panthers go face the 2-3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Carolina Panthers are 2.5-point favorites in this game. I like Carolina here, minus 2.5, and Carolina straight up. Then the next game, when the 4-1 Seattle Seahawks go to the 3-2 or 2-3 Cleveland Browns, and again, for everybody out there, I'm taking the Niners to win tonight, but I'm also going to take Cleveland plus 3. So when the 4-1 Seattle Seahawks go to the 2-3 or 3-2 Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Browns are 2-point favorites in this game, which genuinely surprises me. I'm going to take Seattle here, plus 2 on the line, and Seattle to win outright. So, yep, there we go. So Seattle plus 2, and Seattle straight up. Then the next game, when the 3-2 Houston Texans go to the 4-1 Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites in this game. I like the Chiefs here minus 5.5, and the Chiefs straight up. Then the next game, in the worst game of the year, in one of the worst games of the year, the 0-5 Washington Redskins are going to the 0-4 Miami Dolphins. The Redskins are 3.5-point favorites in this game. I like the Dolphins here plus 3.5, and the Dolphins straight up. And honestly, this game for this pick, I don't know really who wins out of this deal. Honestly, they could both tie. I think everybody could satisfy that with, especially of how bad Washington's been and of how bad Miami's been. I think a tie would be very fitting, even though I know for the NFL this is a great Super Bowl potential rematch hype. But it's going to be just as bad as Mosley, the Redskins kicker, missing that one throw in the Super Bowl the Dolphins won. That's, I think, the level of bad this game is going to be. But again, I'm going to take the Dolphins plus 3.5 and the Dolphins straight up. Then the next game, when the 3-2 Philadelphia Eagles go to the 3-2 Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 3-point favorites in this game. I get it because they're home, but I think the Eagles are a much far superior team. That's why I like Philadelphia plus 3 and Philadelphia straight up. Then the next game, when the 4-1 New Orleans Saints go to the 2-3 Jacksonville Jaguars. This game, amazingly, is a pick'em. I do not know how this happened, but I will jump on all this. I will jump on it like Will Smith and Alfonso Rivera did in that one Las Vegas clip of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I'm going to jump on it, and I'm going to take the Saints here on a pick'em, and the Saints straight up in this game. Then the next game, when the 0-5 Cincinnati Bengals go to the 3-2 Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are 11.5-point favorite in this game. I like the Ravens here to win straight up, but I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals plus 11.5. Then the next game, when the 4-1 or when the 3-1 or 4-0 San Francisco 49ers go to the 3-2 Los Angeles Rams. The LA Rams are 4-point favorites in this game. I like the LA Rams here minus 4 and the LA Rams straight up. And then the next game, when the 1-4 Atlanta Falcons go to the 1-3-1 Arizona Cardinals. The Falcons are 1.5-point favorites in this game. I like Arizona here to win straight up, so I'm going to take them plus 1.5. So I'm going to take Arizona plus 1.5 and Arizona straight up. Then the next game, when the 2-3 Tennessee Titans go to the 1-4 Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are 2.5-point favorites in this game. And I'm going to just keep telling this to people if the spreads are really slow. I'm just going to keep hedging my bet with the Titans because I have not been able to pick a Titans game right this year, and I really don't think I can remember the last time I picked the Titans game correctly, so I'm going to hedge my bet here. I'm going to take the Titans here plus 2.5, but I will take the Denver Broncos straight up. This game is really close because I feel like Denver's been actually a little bit better team than Tennessee, but also just, again, Tennessee's an underdog, so they'll probably show up and play another solid game, but who knows? The teams aren't that similar, so we'll see who they would pull that out. Then the next game, in one of the easier picks of the week, the 3-2 Dallas Cowboys are going to the 0-4 New York Jets. The Dallas Cowboys are 8.5-point favorites in this game. I like Dallas here minus 8.5 and Dallas straight up. Then on Sunday Night Football, when the 1-4 Pittsburgh Steelers go to the 2-3 Los Angeles Chargers, the Chargers are 6.5-point favorites in this game. I like the Chargers here minus 6.5 and the Chargers straight up. Then finally on Monday Night Football, when the 2-1 Detroit Lions go to the 4-1 Green Bay Packers, the Green Bay Packers are 4.5-point favorites in this game. I like Green Bay here minus 4.5 and Green Bay straight up. Alright, so time for my thoughts on each game. The Patriots over the Giants. As I said earlier about Brady, the Patriots have done a fantastic job through their schedule, but if you really look at it, they played the 1-4 Steelers, the 0-4 Dolphins, that's 1-8. They played the 0-5 Jets, that's 1-13. They played the 4-1 Buffalo. So if I do my math correctly, that's 1-4, 1-8, 1-13, 5-14, and then they played 0-5 Washington. So 5-19. So their 5 wins. 4 of them, you take out the 4-1, are 4-18 combined through 5 games, or through 4 or 5 games. And again, I know the Patriots, they've been incredibly impressive. They had a nice solid run game with 91 yards I am surprised they gave that touchdown to Steven Sims on that 65-yard out round, or that end around where there was a bunch of missed tackles. But I feel like with the Patriots, this is just kind of like fundamental consistency. A great stat for everybody. The Patriots, with Bill Belichick at the helm, a rookie quarterback has never gone into Gillette and won. They are 0-11 all-time against Bill Belichick. The last one to do it was Sam Darnold last year. Though I think the Giants, the biggest reason why I took the Giants against the spread here is that I believe Saquon Barkley will be back, and I do think that will definitely be able to hold the point spread within that 17 points. Because there were moments in the Giants game where the Giants were able to effectively move the ball. I thought Sterling Shepard had a solid game. There was Wayne Gallman, I thought did okay. I hope he's okay. He had a big concussion, and he was out. So hopefully Saquon can come back. But I just don't really have any faith against the Giants' offense with Daniel Jones being a rookie going against that defense. A McCourty brother has an interception every single game for the Pats this year. They have scored more defensive touchdowns than they've given up offensive touchdowns. And I just really see with the Patriots that they won't really need much because I just don't think there's anybody that on the Giants offense that scares you except Saquon. And I don't think that even if he has a great game, you saw that with the Giants, and you even saw that with Buffalo to an extent, that even if he has a great game, it really doesn't help the offense against defenses like this. I know for a lot of Giants fans, this is a big moment. Giants-Patriots games are always great because of the last two Super Bowls they played against each other, which came down to the last second. Actually, pretty much all these Giants-Patriots games, they usually come down within the last field goal or the last second of the game. So, maybe the Giants with that kind of mojo, with that confidence, with Daniel Jones playing a little bit better, can maybe, be more effective. But the biggest reason why I'm taking the Patriots is the 11-0 stat, and I just don't think Daniel Jones, he's going to throw a couple interceptions. He's going to be roughed around by the Pats defense. And I just don't think it's going to be that hard of a game to get through. But I'm going to take the plus 17 because Saquon, I believe, will play. And that should be enough to hold the game within 17 points, especially if they run the ball, get some field goals, and hold the ball away from the Patriots. So we shall see. So that's why I like the New England Patriots here straight up, but I'll take the New York Giants plus 17. All right, the next game. The Panthers over the Buccaneers. I want to congratulate Christian McCaffrey for having the best year by a running back this year so far. Do you know that since 1963, he is only the second running back since Jim Brown to have over 175 plus scrimmage yards in four of the team's first 5 games? He has been practically the entire Panthers offense, and if he wasn't there yesterday, the Jaguars would have won that game. The Jaguars would have won that game, and it wouldn't have been close. I feel like, with the Panthers, they got a big defensive touchdown. First time since Week 5 last year with Brian Burns getting a 56-yard fumble return TD. And I just really like what the Panthers are doing. Kyle Allen's the first quarterback in NFL history to go through 4 starts and not throw an interception. His first 4 starts and not throw a pick. He's had a few fumbles, which definitely is concerning. He definitely fumbled a lot against Houston. Jacksonville, he was more fortunate enough. And Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew for the Jags, real quickly, has to stop giving up the ball because that was basically the difference in the game, I believe, for the Jags, were those 2 fumbles by Gardner. But the reason why I'm taking the Panthers is I like how consistent the Panthers have been playing. I feel like with Kyle Allen, he's fundamentally sound. He's not, he can make solid throws. He's got Christian McCaffrey at running back. He's got Greg Olsen at tight end. And after what I saw Teddy Bridgewater do for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns against this Bucs defense, which got shredded. And this is a guy Teddy Bridgewater did just the week before, only could put up 4 field goals against the Cowboys. So I know the Bucs defense wasn't great, because they gave up 40 to the Rams, but that's just bad when Teddy Bridgewater can carve you up like that. Also, I wanted to say for the Buccaneers, for only the second time in his career, Mike Evans did not have a reception. The only 2 times that has ever happened is in the Superdome. So, do I think that Mike Evans, will we do that again? No, but I just felt like after watching the Saints, I feel like the Panthers have been more consistent with their play, especially with McCaffrey, how elevated he's been playing. And remember, just in Week 2, this game was really close. If it wasn't for Ron Rivera's odd decision of doing an end around, the Panthers probably maybe could have won this game by a point and, been right tied with the Saints for first place in the NFC South. I also think with how Tampa's been playing, I don't think Shaquille Barrett's going to have a 3-sack monster game to wreck Kyle Allen as much. I think that the Panthers' offensive line will do a little bit of a better job. And I really like what I've seen out of Kyle Allen, that he's been able to make more plays than Cam Newton, and that'll be the difference in the game. Can Jameis throw on this Panthers defense? Sure, he's done it. He did it earlier this year. I think he has the talent to do it, and will they be motivated to try to doubt some, to gain some confidence after getting pretty much decisively beaten by the Saints? Sure. But I'm going to take the Panthers here. I trust Kyle Allen's efficiency. I trust McCaffrey running and catching the ball in London. And I think the Panthers defense, they'll be able to contain Tampa's offense enough to where they'll be able to win the game. And I think that Kyle Allen won't nearly get sacked or pressured as often as Cam Newton did in Week 2. It should be a great game. I'm really interested in it because I feel like the Panthers, they're getting back into that position, like I've said before. They're the overachieving, underconfident team, undermanned team. Because I did not expect, if you told me the Panthers would be 3-2 through 5 weeks, especially with 3 straight wins, I would have laughed because I did not think this team was good enough. But I think with Kyle Allen, they are playing an effective managing game. The defense is getting key stops. McCaffrey's controlling the clock. And I feel like going over in London, a place where the Panthers, I believe, have been before. I can't remember the last time they won or lost. But the Panthers and Bucks, it's going to be a very interesting game. We'll take the experience, the run game, and Kyle Allen's efficiency over what I've seen out of Jameis Winston, which has been incredibly high and incredibly low at times. So that's like the Carolina Panthers here, minus 2.5. And the Carolina Panthers straight up. The next game, the Seahawks over the Browns. This one to me, this was fairly simple because after what I saw from Russell Wilson went 17 of 23 for 286 yards, 4 TDs, no interceptions, had a QB rating of 151.8. He is leading the league in completion percentage, leading the league in quarterback rating, leading the league in touchdown passes at 12. He has not thrown an interception yet. He's only fumbled 1 time. And I just really like what Seattle's doing. Seattle has one of the better run defense in the league. They were 6th best. They only held Todd Gurley to 51 total rushing yards. He had 2 TDs, but that was because I think of short fields and just kind of, frustrating moments. But I really like what Seattle's doing. I think that their run game has gotten efficient. They've ran it, over 100 yards on the Rams defense. And I just think with the Browns is that the key thing about Lamar, which was different a couple weeks ago, was that Lamar really was not as accurate a thrower of the football as Russell Wilson. And I feel like going up against Russell Wilson, some of those scrambles, he'll be able to make more pinpoint throws that Cleveland defenders will not be able to stop, especially with possibly, again, hopefully these 2 corners get better, but with no Denzel Ward and no Greedy Williams, if they're not playing there, I think that'll be a huge advantage, or an advantage for the Seahawks to target DK Metcalf, David Moore, Tyler Lockett, Will Dissly, the 4th-round pick out of Montana, who's having a career year where nobody knew of him last year because he blew his left knee out in the 4th game against the Cardinals. But I'm going to take Seattle here because I feel like Russell Wilson and the Seahawks Russell Wilson is the more effective and better version of Lamar Jackson, where he has all the athleticism and all the talent to basically do what Lamar did, except just be able to make more throws, be able to make more plays. Also, I don't think that the Browns are going to get 2 turnovers on Russell Wilson with the way he's been playing. Should it be an interesting game? Sure. Because definitely when you put Seattle on the road, they're 2-0 for the first time, actually, since 2013. But putting Seattle on the road against the Browns team who may be motivated or not, especially after what happens tonight, to play a game against a Seattle team that's decent, but definitely has shown some ups and downs on the road, especially against Pittsburgh. I think, though, Seattle's just the better team, better coached, and I'll just trust the efficiency of Russell Wilson over the whole dynamicness of Baker Mayfield and his offense. Should be an interesting game, though. And also, Russell Wilson, though, he did throw 5... he also did have a good, nice game against them in his only game back in 2015 against Johnny Manziel. I think he threw for 3 TDs, no picks. It was a flawless game. And I think Russell Wilson put another type of performance that lifts Seattle to a 5-1 start. So that's why I like Seattle here. +2. And Seattle straight up. The next game, the Kansas City Chiefs over the Houston Texans. Will Fuller had a career day, ladies and gentlemen. I believe he had 14 receptions for 200 plus yards and 2 TDs. Deshaun Watson became the first quarterback in NFL history to have 400 yards passing, 5 TDs, and 5 or fewer incompletions. He had a perfect passer rating against the Atlanta Falcons, who by far to me have been the biggest disappointment in the entire league with how much talent they have and how little effective they're being. Matt Ryan threw for a nice 300-yard game. He had 3 TDs. He made some big plays. But he also threw another interception, which ties him with Josh Allen for the most picks in the league this year at 7. And fun fact, that was how many picks Matt Ryan had the entire year going into last year. But to me, when I look at what Houston brings, I thought it was just an incredible offensive performance. They didn't really need to run the ball. I think the issue, though, for me is with this Houston team is that they're playing Kansas City, a team that routinely in the Bill O'Brien era, if I'm doing my math correctly here, has been able to win consistently. They blew them out in the wildcard game in 2015. They beat them a couple years ago with Deshaun Watson his rookie year. They've beaten... KC's beaten them, afterward. To me, I think with the Chiefs, they need to see if Sammy Watkins is healthy. Austin Ryder, their center, went down, which was, I think, a significant injury. Hopefully he's okay. They need to be able to see if Patrick Mahomes' ankle is going to hold up. But I just feel like with the Chiefs is that whenever they lose games like this, they're always able to find a way to bounce back. Do I think the game is going to be close? Sure, absolutely. Because I feel like with the Texans, that Chiefs defense is awful, especially against the run. So if I'm Bill O'Brien, I'm using Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson and gashing that defense for some of the longest and consistent runs you will get probably all year against any defense. But when you have a Chief team that just ended their 25-game streak, scoring 26 or more points, they're going to be motivated to take it down the Texan team that just, I think, got very fortunate to play a bad defense. I think Houston's solid. But I feel like with Kansas City, they are motivated after getting pushed around by the Colts in a low-scoring affair. I think they're going to take it out on the Texans defense, which has shown you in big moments to kind of give you some breaks to win the game. I saw this line originally, and it was 7.5. But right before I did this video, it went down to 5.5. That's why I took Kansas City or minus 5.5, Kansas City straight up. If the game was 7 or higher, I probably would have taken the Texans to win. Or I probably would have taken the Texans to cover. But since it's under 7, I'll feel confident enough that the Chiefs, motivated from a loss, will be able to regroup and be able to beat the Texans to drop them to 3-3. Should be a great game, though, between two very young and inspiring and ascending quarterbacks in Mahomes and Watson. So that's all Kansas City are minus 5.5 and Kansas City straight up. The next game, the Dolphins over the Redskins. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this. I am taking the Miami Dolphins for one reason. They are home. That's all. This game, the Redskins defense has been in shambles. They gave up 33 to Brady. They gave up a pick 6. Haskins turned over 4 turnovers in the Giants game where they lost 24-3. The Bears game, they got blown out, or they got decisively lost 31-15. Same thing with Dallas. This Redskins team is just an absolute disaster. And they just fired Jay Gruden, rightfully so. Adrian Peterson has about 50 yards rushing for the year. They really have not been able to move the ball effectively. Jordan Reed's been out the whole year. Josh Norman keeps getting beat by every single receiver they put on him. Landon Collins has not really been able to make that much of an effort or make that much of an impact in games. Chris Thompson's crying after games. And I really don't have any confidence in the Washington Redskins. And I know what people are going to say. Well, the Miami Dolphins, if the Redskins are that, Miami's the hold my beer of bad teams because they are, I think, just about a little bit worse because at least the Dolphins, the Redskins haven't been shut out. They've been close. But the Dolphins, though, over the last 2 weeks with Rosen through their first halves, has looked more competitive and, has kept the game closer through the majority of the game. And honestly, with everything going on in Washington, it could be the saving grace that helps with Bill Callahan getting named on board. They may get Kevin O'Connor from their offensive coordinator to get the job. So any Redskins fans out there that are watching, just keep an eye on that name for possibly your new head coach. But the only reason why I'm taking Miami is because they're home. And over the last 2 weeks against the Cowboys through the first half and against the Chargers, they were giving the Chargers and Cowboys a good run for their money. And I really believe in that for me, that I think the Miami Dolphins will be able to find a way to pull this game out. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Redskins won this game, but we will see. So that's why I like Miami here plus 3.5 and Miami straight up. The next game, the next game, and sorry everybody for my phone going off there. Sorry. All right, the next game, when the Eagles over the Vikings. Kirk Cousins had 280 yards, 2 or 3 TDs, no picks. Adam Thielen had 6 receptions, 120 yards, 2 TDs. The Vikings defense had a very good, solid game. But it was against the Giants. So, you know what? The Vikings did what they were supposed to do and beat up a very non-effective Giants team, but that's what I knew from the beginning. The Vikings were just more clearly talented. I know the Vikings last year, the last 2 times they played, 2 times ago was the NFC Championship game where Philly just absolutely routed the Vikings 42-7. And then last year, Kirk Cousins with a Dan Bailey game-winning field goal was able to beat the Eagles in a redemption kind of way. So this is the rubber match between those two for this third game. And I was really impressed with the Eagles. Carson Wentz threw for 198 yards and a touchdown. But the Eagles' defense was tremendous. They got 2 defensive touchdowns. I think it was the first time since 2013 the Eagles got defensive touchdowns. And also kudos for Orlando Scandrick getting a big defensive touchdown. I think his first in a very long time. But they were playing the Jets, who, again, are to me the worst team in the NFL right now, but just how they've been playing. But at the end of the day, when I look at these games, I'm going to trust the Eagles' offensive line compared to Minnesota's. I'll trust the committee of running backs the Eagles have over Kirk Cousins or over Dalvin Cook. I'll trust the Eagles receivers. I'll trust the Eagles tight end definitely over the Vikings. At the end of the day, if you gave me Jake Elliott or Dan Bailey, I'll take Jake Elliott right now. And I'll take Carson Wentz over Kirk Cousins. Could the Vikings win this game? Sure. I think they have enough defensive talent. The Eagles, they've had some of the highest drop amounts in the league. And I really feel like for Philly, they could hang around and put Minnesota in a tough situation, especially if that pass rush can get to Carson Wentz. But I'm going to take Philly here. The better quarterback, the better running back group, the better tight end. And I don't think Kirk Cousins will be able to dissect the Eagles secondary enough in order for him to make a difference in this game and possibly give the Vikings this victory. I think this one of the more entertaining games of the week. I wish, but I think the biggest reason why I took Philly was also it was an underdog. It was a 3-point underdog, which I don't get at all. I think Philadelphia, with their wins over the Packers, their close loss against Detroit, the Atlanta loss doesn't look good now, but they also beat Washington and Jets. So they're kind of one of the situations where I get it. If you want to say, well, the Eagles, once they played some quality competition, they couldn't. They couldn't beat the Lions, and they couldn't beat the Falcons, even though that Falcons loss looks pretty bad now. At least they were able to beat the Packers in a game where the Packers in the next week were able to just dominate the Cowboys. So, kudos to the Eagles there. But that's why I'm taking the Eagles here. Just better quarterback, better offensive line, better running game. And I'll trust that the Eagles' front four will generate enough pressure on Cousins, just so he won't be able to get enough open time, enough free time to hit Diggs or Thielen, who both are not happy with Kirk Cousins right now. They may be happier with him today, but I feel like with what's going on, I feel like that frustration will continue to build after this week once they lose to Philly. So that's why I like Philadelphia here, +3, and Philadelphia straight up. The next game, the New Orleans Saints over the Jaguars. This is one where I think the Saints right now are the best team in the NFC. I think if you look at what their performance has been, they've beaten the Cowboys, they've beaten the Buccaneers, they've beaten the Seahawks, and they've beaten the Texans. 3 of those teams have above 500 records. One in Tampa, 2-3, and then the other one, the Rams. That was just a tough game where if Drew Brees would have played, they probably could have maybe been 5-0. But I just really like what the Saints are doing. I think they have been incredibly impressive. They've been incredibly consistent. Teddy Bridgewater is keeping the mantle for Drew Brees warm. And I think depending on how Drew plays, you may want people wanting Teddy Bridgewater to come back in the games. I don't think that's going to happen, but it definitely could with the way Teddy Bridgewater's been playing. But do I think Jacksonville has a chance? Maybe slightly. I think Gardner Minshew, had a solid game. Let me look at the numbers here. Gardner Minshew, 374 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. He has committed, though, a grand total of 7 fumbles, and I think that's going to be the difference in the game. The Saints have been able to, I think, get a turnover in most of their games this year. So definitely with Gardner Minshew's propensity to fumble the ball, I think that the Saints will be able to get 1 or 2 turnovers from Minshew. That will be the difference in the game. I think for this game as well, I think Alvin Kamara will have a great game passing and catching the ball against the Jacksonville defense, especially with Christian McCaffrey getting 175 scrimmage yards from them. I think Kamara can do the same type of performance in this game. So that's why I like the Saints here in a pick 'em, and the Saints here straight up. The next game, the Ravens over the Bengals. This is one where the Bengals, you know what? They've been pretty good in 3 of their 5 games. I do have to say that. I think they've been good in 3 of their 5 games. If you look at what's happened with them, in 3 of their 5 games, they've been incredibly close. They've been incredibly competitive. And I give them credit for that. They, right now, though, I think the issue is they have the 5th worst defense in points, 2nd worst in terms of total yards, where they're playing a Raven team that has consistently for this year so far still is the number 1 offense entirely in the league. We have the best running attack trio, I believe, in the NFL with Mark Ingram, Justice Hill, and Mark Ingram, Justice Hill, and Gus Edwards. There we go. Mark Ingram, Justice Hill, and Gus Edwards. I think we have the best trio in the league because I don't think anybody really can match up running back-wise, maybe besides the Patriots, but I would take our running backs over them. But yeah, the reason why I'm going to Baltimore is just that, AJ Green's not expected to be around. John Ross isn't going to be around that much. And if you look at how with the Bengals here, they, were able to get 2 touchdowns. Tyler Boyd with a big 42-yard touchdown pass to get them within, 3 points or tie the game. But when you let the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, become the 2nd quarterback in NFL history to have 250-plus passing yards and 90-plus rushing yards, you deserve to lose that game. Do I think the Ravens, are they going to put up a great fight against the Bengals? Sure. But I would not. I would tell everybody, don't sleep on the Bengals making this a game that needs to be. There's going to be way more competitive than it should be, especially with how these 2 teams are placed right now and what their aspirations are moving forward. I also think with Lamar Jackson, I think the 3-pick game was not very exciting or encouraging. But I feel like with the Bengals, I feel like with the Ravens, they'll be able to bounce back. Especially with the game, if you look at the games against Miami and Arizona, I think we will have similar offensive numbers to those type of games. It won't really mean anything, but it'll be a nice way to gain Lamar's confidence back and get us our 4th win of the year through beating the Bengals. Also, I do want to congratulate Justin Tucker for having the most kicks ever, the highest field goal percentage at Heinz Field. I think they said he's 12 of 13 from Heinz Field, which is ridiculous, especially with how cold it is and the wind and how all those elements get into kicking. But I do want to congratulate Tucker on another amazing kick, his 13th game-winning kick of his career. And I hope that he continues to have many more of those moving forward, unless we're just dominating teams and we don't need him to kick game-winning field goals. So that's why I like the Ravens here straight up, but I'll take the Bengals plus 11.5. The next game, the Rams over the Niners. This is one where I really liked what offensively the Rams were able to do. Jared Goff had a solid game. He threw, I believe, for almost 300 yards. He did have that 1 interception that went through Everett's hands, right into Tedrick Thompson's. That was really big. But just looking at the Niners, I'm just, looking at it going, they're kind of like in the sense like the Patriots, where like you can look at their schedule and go, they beat up a Bucs team that if Winston doesn't throw 2 pick sixes, they lose that game. They play Pittsburgh, coughed the ball up 5 times. Pittsburgh's not been able to score on any of those drives. They blew out the Bengals, who are winless, and then now they're playing a Browns team that I think can give them a run. I still think the Niners are a little bit better, and they're more rested compared to the Browns. But I'm going to take the Rams here because I trust that in that Coliseum, they'll be able to control the ball well, they'll be able to run the ball well, and I don't think Kyle Shanahan and Garoppolo are going to be able to make enough offensive plays. They just had to sign Jordan Matthews off the scrap heap because Jalen Hurd went down to the IR. So I don't know how Matthews will do in the offense, but I wish him luck. But I have to take the Rams here because I feel like they're a bit more of a consistent team. I think they'll be able to get a good enough pass rush through to Garoppolo right to Garoppolo, and I believe in the Rams to pull this out through a big defensive play by either Peters or Talib, who have not looked good this year, but I feel like that's just because of scheme and just trying to be a little bit too aggressive with their play calling. So that's why I like the LA Rams here, -4, and the LA Rams straight up. The next game, the Cardinals over the Falcons. This is one where I just took Arizona on the sense that they have a better record. They have the tie at home already, and I just can't trust Atlanta's offense right now. Like, Matt Ryan's having a great year offensively, statistically, but they're not winning games. I think that's just incredibly frustrating to him in this moment, especially where they are. Do I think Atlanta could win? Sure, and I think Atlanta on paper has more talent. Maybe besides the running back, I think Atlanta has the better offensive line. Atlanta has the better quarterback. Atlanta has the better wide receivers. Atlanta has better linebackers than the Cardinals do. They have better secondary guys, especially with Patrick Peterson being out. Byron Murphy, big moment for him in this game. I think he's been doing a good job. And also for Zane Gonzalez, that was a big clutch 40-plus yard field goal to get them the win. And I just think of Atlanta. As soon as Atlanta starts making plays or starts making headway, they'll either get picked off, go for on 4th down and miss, or any other scenario besides keeping the ball and trying to move the ball forward. This game should be fun. Definitely, if you have any fantasy players in Atlanta or Arizona, put them on your roster because you're going to see the points just flying up and down this week in a big game. But I'm going to take Arizona here. They're a little bit better team. I trust them a little bit more, and I don't really think Atlanta will be able to recover from this. And I think for Dan Quinn, the writing's on the wall that probably by the end of this year, he will be fired, justifiably so, for how bad he's been with all the talent he has in the league. So that's why I like Arizona here, plus 1.5, and Arizona straight up. The next game, the Broncos over the Titans. This is one where I am just hedging my bet here because Tennessee, like I said, I am 0-5 with the Titans this year, and I feel like every single year I go with the Titans or I watch the Titans play, and I go, every time you bet on them, they'll let you down. Every time you go against them, they'll play one of their better games. So, kudos to Denver getting a second straight win in Los Angeles in the Health Building. But also, though, there was a fun stat I saw that when the Chargers get a punt recovery, usually the opposing team doesn't win. And the only other time that's happened is in 2009 against the Broncos for one of the Chargers. But I'm sorry. So let me restart again. Denver over Tennessee. The reason why I'm going with Denver in this game is because I just don't have any faith in Tennessee. I am 0-5 with the Titans this year. And I just feel like with the Titans, every time they're favored, they'll lose. Every time they're an underdog, they'll win. But just after watching that team, they really couldn't move the ball offensively that much. I think Denver's defense is pretty good, even though they lost Chubb in a big way. And, but I think there's Duke Dawson, there's Chris Harris still there, there's Todd Parks, there's Jewell, the linebacker. I think this Denver defense will do a good enough job against the Titans here, who really don't have that much offensively. A.J. Brown's up and down consistent. Dion Lewis has about 60 yards from scrimmage. Derrick Henry's the primary back for the Titans, but he just seems also he can't really be consistent enough, I feel like, to win games or put him enough production to keep him at that price. But also, again, this is Denver at home. Their home games this year, last-second field goals by Eddie Pinero and Josh Lambo. Maybe that's an advantage for the Broncos because the Titans kicker is awful. Cairo Santos, he missed 4 field goals yesterday, and that cost the Titans the game. So, we will see. I think this game is really close. I'm going to take the Denver here straight up because I believe that they're a little bit of a better team, and I think they'll be able to move the ball more effectively. And I'm taking the Titans here against the spread just because this is the Titans, and this is what they're going to do. And this basically guarantees me a win. Either way, the Titans win outright, or if the Broncos win straight up. So it gets me a win either way, and I will take that. So that's why I like Tennessee here, plus 2.5. In Tennessee straight up. The next game, the Cowboys over the Jets. The Cowboys put up over 560 yards of offense in a loss. That was their record. That was a record high for a loss. Zeke only ran for 62 yards. Dak had 400-plus yards, 2 TDs, 3 picks, and 2 of those picks were just god-awful. The one to Kevin King was massively bad, and I forget the other one, not the one where it went through Cooper's hands, the other one was just another forced throw that basically cost the Cowboys to win this game. They're going to be motivated. Dak Prescott said that he was going to take this on the chin and try to move forward. I think he will. And they're just playing a Jet team, like I said earlier. They've only scored 2 offensive touchdowns through going into 6 weeks. I don't think, the Cowboys will be happy that they got the win, but they're playing a Jet team that just so clearly infuriated them. It's not really going to put that much stock into what I think about how they're going to do. They do play the Eagles next week, though, in Jerry World. So that's going to be a massive game for the NFC East, and I'm glad it's a primetime game, and I would tell everybody out there, please watch this game if you're a football fan. It's Cowboys and Eagles, 2 competitive teams trying to get through the NFC East. And I remember last year in those 2 games, they were one-score games that came very close. And I really feel like with these 2 teams where they are right now, I think it could be the same kind of thing again. So that's why I like Dallas here minus 8.5 and Dallas straight up. The next game, the Chargers over the Steelers. This is one where I am taking the Chargers just because I don't think Mason Rudolph is going to play. I saw the hit that Earl Thomas and I think it was Brandon Carr that came together, and they just knocked out Mason Rudolph. He really couldn't even move. I was really scared for the guy. Thankfully, he was able to walk off his own power, and he is in the concussion protocol. But at least now he's home with his family, and I wish him all the best. But I just really, when I look at Pittsburgh, it's just a tough sell with Devlin Hodges running around like that, trying to make throws that he'll be able to effectively win games. I don't think that happens against a Charger team that is motivated to come back and play in a good way to try to challenge the Chiefs. But honestly, I don't know if that will genuinely happen. But I like the Chargers here in this game because they have a better running game. Pittsburgh's run defense has had some very tough moments against good running offenses. I think that the Chargers will be able to protect the ball more, and I just think the Chargers will make one more big mistake. The Steelers will make one more big mistake that gets the Chargers this victory. Because remember last year, Mike Badgley kicked the game-winning field goal after Mike Tomlin tried to charge the kicker offside to prevent the win from happening. So that's why I like the Chargers here, minus 6.5, and the Chargers straight up. And finally, the Packers over the Lions. This is one where Aaron Rodgers now is 5-0 in Jerry World. He's only one of 3 quarterbacks and teams to be undefeated in buildings, to be undefeated in other team road buildings. I know one of them was definitely the America's Got Talent coach being with the Jets, because the Jets have not beaten the Eagles at all throughout their entire franchise history. They were 0-11. They were eventually now 0-12. But the reason why I like the Packers here is that defense is legit. Aaron Jones had a career day, 179 total yards of scrimmage, 4 touchdowns. Rodgers threw for about another 230. Jimmy Graham caught about 61 yards. And that defense caused 3 huge turnovers on Dak Prescott and a lot of pressure from the sacks. And I really genuinely buy into this Packers team. The line originally, when I first got up this morning, was 6.5. Fortunately, I think people are realizing how good the Packers are. And they dropped that to a 4, or maybe how good the Lions are. They dropped to a 4.5 point favorite. I will swallow those points because I feel like Green Bay is at least a touchdown better than the Lions in this game. It will be a fun game. I think Detroit will be able to try to run the ball. Detroit's actually, though, after going on a streak of losing 19 to 20 years in Lambeau Field, the Lions have actually won 3 of the last 4 games in Lambeau Field. So for people out there going like, oh, they're not going to be able to handle the frozen tundra. Yeah, they are. They are going to be able to hold, battle the frozen tundra. And I think the Lions are able to control the clock, make some big plays with Stafford with his arm and his legs. And I think the key difference will be Aaron Rodgers trying to outdo his fellow quarterback in the NFC North, Matthew Stafford, in a tough environment, in a tough situation in a game like that. This game is going to be fun. If I had to tell people to watch certain games, the biggest game of the week for me is San Francisco and the Rams, followed up by the Lions and Packers, Steelers and Chargers at 3, and then Seattle, Cleveland will be, or Houston, Kansas City will be at 4, and Seattle, Cleveland will be at 5. But I'm going to take the Packers here. Better quarterback, better staff, more confident, more relaxed. I think with the Lions, they are starting to kind of show that they're still some of the same old Detroit Lions, especially if Stafford leaves to go tend to his... Especially if Stafford plays, effectively. Stafford's played, some effective football. They had some big turnovers in the game against Kansas City 2 weeks ago. One that went for a touchdown, and the other one that could have cost another touchdown for the Lions themselves. But I'm going to take the Packers here. Home field advantage, more confident, more relaxed, and I feel like if they get to a 10-0 lead, remember they are 59-1 in that situation. I think that happens, and the Packers win that game off of that and just being just more supremely talented than the Detroit Lions. So those are my thoughts and picks for this week. Like, comment, rate, subscribe. Please check out the NFL YouTube Prognosticators page where Stuart Madison, Keith Bailey, Gioknows, Halfmoon's picks, Andrew Warren, TJHarmon, Robert's Sports Show, Hatbox, all those great prognosticators, guys and gals from across the country and across the world making predictions. Please check them out, just like if you'd like to watch me, watch other people have their opinions about football games. And that is it. So good luck to all players, teams, coaches, fantasy football players, and fellow prognosticators. Good luck this week, and until next week for Week 7, this is Matt the NFL Fanatic signing off. Until next time, so long.